Hi everybody, it's Lene. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a Christmas junk journal tutorial for you. I did one of these last year and it was so fun. This time we're doing a retro inspired junk journal, and I think one of the hardest parts about doing a junk journal for the first time is really knowing where to resource all the junk, all the stuff to put in it. So I'm going to give you lots of hints and tips about where to resource things. So for example, this little pom-pom trim that came from Amazon. This super vintage looking Christmas card, also from Amazon. But I got my Rick Rack from my thrift store, okay? I had some ribbon. So yeah, I just used what I had and then added some other things once I picked my theme, okay? And then, for example, this is just a 3x5 card from the Dollar Tree, and I just added a little scrap paper and some trim to that. And then here, this envelope, you guys, this is a paper napkin, and I'm just using that paper. And then this is a little tuck spot. Let's just tear some strips of paper and layer those. I have so many other tips to show you. And as always, I'm giving away this project to one of my subscriber friends. So watch to the end of the video and you're gonna get all the details on that. So let's get started. Let's start off by going through all of the papers that I've pulled and the ephemera and the different things that I am using in my book here. So I'm starting off with a number 10 regular size white paper bag. You can get these at your grocery store, you can get these at a bakery. I got these originally at a bakery, but now Paper Wishes has them. You can buy them, I think they're like $6 or something for like 20 of them. They're great for your Christmas crafts. I'll put the link for that down below the video under Paper Wishes supplies. But you can also just use a brown paper bag, okay? Because yours is going to be a little different than mine, right? So it's 6¼ inches wide, and we're only going to use 12 inches of it, but it's about 14 inches tall. So let me write this down. I'm not going to be writing down everything for you today because there's just going to be a lot of ripping and tearing and things like that. So it's 6¼ and then we're going to be using 12½ actually. Okay, because we're going to be folding it and we want to come up with something that'll accommodate 6x6 paper. So let's grab the paper cutter. You do not need to use a paper trimmer. You can use a ruler and a pair of scissors. Works just fine. Use what you have. All right, cutting that to 12½. We're also just cutting off that jaggedy edge and that little dip that's right there. Okay. So then I'm going to fold this in half, and I like to keep the gusseted part of the bag on the bottom of the little book because it's heavier and that makes the cover a little heavier, but you can put it wherever you would like. Okay, we're going to just fold that for now, put that aside. The other thing I'm using is 12x12 paper. I'm also going to be using some cut down to 6x6, but we're going to be cutting this down and then folding it for our pages. So we want to keep this in 6x12s. So there's going to be a lot of 6x12 paper. Actually, for the pages, it's going to be 12x6. Okay. So keep that in mind. And these are single-sided. You can use double-sided papers, absolutely. I just have these and I have a lot of them and I want to use them up. Okay, that's what's really great about a junk journal. You can use them up. So we're just kind of keeping in that really red and green Christmassy color scheme. All right, vintage Christmas cards. I bought these on Amazon, but they came in a huge pack, okay? You probably don't want to buy a huge pack of them, so what alternatives do you have? Okay, so these are just an assortment of cards that I bought at my local thrift. So really cute and pretty. And what's great about using these is that they come, a lot of times the older ones or the fancier ones have fancy envelopes. Okay, that is adorable. All right, and then another option is you might, if you support a charity, you might get these Christmas cards in the mail. We support Habitat for Humanity. It's a great organization. Check them out. And they came with little Christmas seals to use, okay? Those are great for junk journals. And then they also have printed envelopes, super fancy Habitat for Humanity. And then all of these great little cards. Okay. I wanted to use a very specific kind of card for mine today, so I'm not using any of those. I'm using these vintagey looking, mid-century looking cards, okay? They came with an envelope. I'm going to use both. This particular card is 4 by 6. I'm going to use it for my cover. So as long as it's, you know, under 6 inches for your book, use any kind of card. And even if you're using a larger card, you can cut it down. So that's what we're using for the card. Here's another card I just had in my stash, and it's just silver glitter, and I love it. And so we're going to be using that. Some packing paper, great for tearing. Strips and scraps of paper, okay, in your color scheme, fantastic. These are great, just like Christmas books that you find at the thrift store that are really damaged. Ask your local library if they have, like, our local library has book donations, and sometimes the books are just, you know, ravaged, water damaged or whatever. And I go in and I'll ask my local librarian, I'll be like, hey, do you have any damaged children's Christmas books that you just want to get rid of? And then I make a donation, and they give me a bunch of these ones that they can't put out or they can't sell in the little bookshop where they raise money. Your thrift stores too. Do you have any damaged books that I can look at? So these are great. I love the size of this as well. This is from like Teddy Bear's Christmas Carol, I think, which is adorable. All right, so we've also got old ledger paper. Found a book of that at my thrift store. This is my daughter's graph paper from her high school math class that she made me buy 1,000 sheets of it, and she used, you know, 50. And old recipes, like from an old recipe book, a large envelope, old Christmas card envelopes for those great big Christmas cards and you had too many of the envelopes left over. Use those up if they're any kind of a color. That's great. Paper napkins. That's right. So this one, I love little ginghams left over from the summer. Absolutely use this. Goes with my color scheme. This is just a scrap that I had left over. I cut it down, and this is from the inside of an old, what do you call those? Like a atlas. Yeah, an atlas. And I used for another project. So it just has numbers and like cities on it. And then old book pages. All right. That's what we're going to be going with there. Let's take a look at the ephemera I'm going to be using. Ephemera. What is ephemera? Ephemera is things that are usually paper, that are random, that go great in a junk journal, but I like to say they're random, but they have a random appearance, but they have something in common. Okay, so they could be all vintage. They could be browns and greens and all the different colors. Okay, so an example of ephemera would be a doily. Okay, you can get these on Amazon. You can get these at your local thrift store. Okay, I have had these all in a box. I just threw them in here. Let's see. Oh yeah, just a bunch of like ribbons and rickrack. And for me, I just dropped some. Rickrack is very vintage. Has a very vintage feel for me. My mother used to have it on my clothes when I was little, so that's special for me. And then, let's see what else we have in here. Oh yeah, these little like tags, but they're cool because they have vellum on them. Just little hang tags. Oh yeah, and then like a die cut clock piece, just any pieces. I collected these. I think I have the cutting die for this one. And then just a plain white tag. And then a library card, a little mini paper bag. You can use different size, different colors of paper bags. And then I have these little, they're just little cutouts, but they are silver and they're embossed little words. Magic, imagine, journey, dream. And then finally, let's see if I've got everything else in here. You want to use some like purchased ephemera, like this one. Graphic 45, but assuming you can just go ahead and buy whatever ephemera you want to use, some little die cut pieces. I got this one at work. It was left over from another project, and this one has that mid-century look to it that I'm going for, so I'm going to use this one, and they're just punch outs, and I like the Santa. So So definitely use what you have. And these are just some ideas. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is take all of this and move it to one side. And then we're going to deal with the paper. So for this, I'm going to cut my paper down in half. And I'm just going to hold it together and use my paper trimmer. And we're just going to cut it into 6 by 12. I'm not sure how many sheets I'm going to be using yet, but I will let you know. All right, so we're starting off with 3 12 by 12s. So after I have my paper cut down, I'm going to start folding it in half like this. Now it's a 6 by 6 with the fold, and the fold is just going to sit right there in the center of my paper bag. And I'm going to alternate these. Some of them are going to go like this way so that the patterns are facing each other. And if you're using like a single-sided cardstock or a double-sided cardstock, this is not your worry. You can just use whatever. All right, we're going to go like that. And then we're going to take some of these pages and we're going to fold these as well. And it's okay if they have like a torn edge, or you can trim them so that they're all square, whatever you want to do. This is a junk journal. You can make it look how you want to. So I'm just folding at this point. I'm going to keep this one aside. This one can come next. It's already folded, but I don't want to put it right next to something of a similar color. So I'm going to put something else in there. How about this green one? And we're going to trim these down for sure. And then I've got this cool one that's like, that card would look really cool in there. And then here is the large envelope. And I'm just folding these like this, but at some point I'll take them to trim them down, and I'll use my bone folder and I'll really crease that, and it's just going to compact your junk journal a little bit. Right now we're just kind of getting a feel of our layout, and you're just going to keep kind of doing that, kind of adding your colors. I want to add some more green in here like this. All right, and then I've got this one. Well, let's do this one. I've been waiting for that one. And then maybe go backwards and then add in this grid so it's between the pattern papers. See, we're just sort of manipulating things and going along. Now what we have left are all of these, and they're going to go sort of on the pages, except for this one. What do you do when you have something really cute you want to use, but it's not like wide enough to put in there? So all you need to do is glue something to this, okay? So it could be another piece. Let's do another piece of these papers. Here we go. You could take one like this, and then you can just glue that right to the edge, and then you can put it in like that, okay? That is absolutely, totally acceptable to do, because sometimes you find something that's just too cool and you've got to use it. So I'm going to, ooh, my glue is clogged. Let's take care of that. All right, I glued that piece together. We'll put that right there. Okay, so now we've got our layers worked out. I'm going to keep a lot of this paper set aside because we're going to glue it to like the back sides of these single-sided and do little borders and things with them. So the first thing I'm going to do is now make sure I can trim everything down to fit within this book. Everything's going to fit except these two pieces right here, this one and this grid paper. So I'm going to trim them down to be 6 inches tall. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one out. And you could leave like this edge in, which would be really cool to have in your junk journal. So maybe I'll do that. And then we're not going to get rid of this excess because we could definitely use that later. Okay, I'm going to put that back in order. Oops, I lost my sparkly card. And then this last one right here. And because I used the little holes on the other one, I'm not going to keep these. We'll save them for something else. Okay, and then I'm going to put that in line as well. Great. So now everything is either fitting within the 6x6. Well, everything's fitting within the 6x6, but some of the things are a little bit smaller, and that's great. It's going to work out really well. So now the next thing we're going to do is cover the backs of these papers. Let me fold this so that we're good to go on the teddy bear one. There we go. I just want that little torn seam right there on one side so it's not in the middle. And then we're going to take some more paper and we're just going to cut these 6x6 sheets down a little bit and glue them on the white sides. Right, so I'm cutting down my papers to go on the back sides of these single-sided papers. And as I said, if you're using double-sided paper, you don't need to worry about this. So this one, this green one, I decided to move out of its normal place because I had a lot of red happening here. And I cut my page cover paper, okay, to either 5 7/8 inch square or 5 3/4 of an inch square, okay, depending on what size of border you like to have. Okay, and we're just going to, oh, before I do that, now before you glue this on here, it's an opportunity to have some little pockets, some little tuck spots right here. So I can take this side. This is a 2-inch circle punch. You can get this in my Amazon store. And we're going to use just 1/3 of it. And there's about equal space on each side. Ooh, what's wrong with my punch? Looks like it's dull. A way to sharpen your punches, if you're not aware, you can actually take aluminum foil and you can punch aluminum foil a couple of times and it'll sharpen that, which is definitely something I need to do because it's destroying my paper. All right, hold on, I gotta take care of this. All right, let's do a little punch repair. It's a good idea to like sharpen up your punches occasionally. Okay, it didn't tear that, so what I'm thinking too is the paper is rebelling against the single-sidedness of the paper. It's lighter weight than I'm usually using, so I'm just going to take 2 layers of it. Once again, using 1/3 of it. Same on this side, same on this side, and that worked much better. So if you're using single-sided and you're having punch troubles, that could be definitely the problem. All right, so now we're going to put this right here, but oh yeah, let's see, definitely not. Let's use this one so that it's not showing the barcode, and we're going to put it right up there at the top. And have a nice little pocket, and then we're just going to put some glue on 3 sides. Okay, and then we can use the other piece that I cut for a page that doesn't have the barcode. All right, so then you have a nice little pocket, a nice deep pocket. All right, and then this side, let's go ahead and use this one, except this is going to be going in here. And I don't want my punch to be like this, but that's okay. The music works this way. Okay, just had to get a directional paper situation. All right. And I'm really just trying to make sure I don't have too much red on one side and too much green on one side, and just sort of alternating my papers if I can. Okay, and then all these little scraps that I've cut down, definitely keep those. Hear my aluminum foil tinkling in the background. All right, I've kind of lost. Have you guys lost where we are? I'm kind of lost. There we go. There we are. Okay, so another one of the things I wanted to address is the envelope that we're putting in the center. Okay, one of the things you want to do there is once it's folded, I just want to take a pair of scissors and just trim right down the center of that. So, and then we're going to put a little bit of a V so that it can open from either side and not be kind of in the way of the binding. There we go. Gives us plenty of space, just like this. And then we can do something to cover those as well. I'm thinking this might be a really good place to use our little napkin bit. That would be cute, a little gingham in there. Okay, so with the napkin, this one's fancy. It's a 2-ply napkin. And we're just gonna separate the little plies. It's even more fancy because it's embossed plies, so it keeps them stuck together. And I just got them on Amazon. They were left over from a picnic. Oh, these are good quality napkins. They're not coming apart very easily. Okay, let me separate my napkin layers and I'll be right back. Okay, I just ended up using my little pokey tool, kind of poked at it a little bit and separated it. Can separate that. Not sure if we're going to use this part yet. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut off. I've already got a little bit cut off, so we'll use this. And we're just going to put some glue here. We're not going to really bother with like decoupaging it on there. We're just going to make sure we have plenty of glue to keep this in place. Okay, and then we're just giving the straight edge that I cut off. We're going to use the straight edge on the bottom. And this is what I mean about using just like things that you have around your house. Using, go through your party napkins and see what you've got. I bet you've got some great patterns. We're looking for pattern, we're looking for color, texture, stuff that looks old, stuff that looks old-timey. There we go. And then also this little piece that's right here, that mine just happens to be a like self-adhesive envelope. We definitely don't want that coming off at any point. So I'll probably just take another piece of the napkin and take this off because we don't want somebody like removing it and then sealing it on there. And then we'll just cover the inside as well. Okay, right there. Okay, and then we're just going to trim around that and do the exact same thing. Let's see what else we can do here. I'm kind of getting out of order of my papers, but it's okay. We will definitely go through it again. Yeah, the front covers. All right, so on the front cover, we can do the exact same thing. Do the pocket at the top if you want, or we can do like smaller pockets, which is a fun thing to do. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and glue this here, and then when we get going a little bit more and we have some scraps, we can make a little pocket along the bottom edge of this. But in the meantime, we're just covering that. For the little back gusset pocket, remember this part right here, the bottom of the bag, I've cut my papers to 3.5 inches wide and 5 3/4 inch tall. And then our cover, we're just doing our 6x6 paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and take care of those things. For this part, these are both the same size for this back little tuck spot. And it's not a full pocket, so I just like to kind of call it a tuck spot area. Like that. And I'm just trying to make sure that I'm going to align. It doesn't really matter if you're aligned with this side because remember the whole rest of the book is there. But try to remember that these lines can be aligned. It just kind of keeps things tidier in your book. have to tell you something while I'm gluing this in. So I have a desk in my window that I work on as I'm filming, and it's a standing desk. I got it last Christmas and I love it. And I always stand because standing is better than sitting, right? Well, recently I hurt my knee and I'm doing physical therapy on it, and I need to move my knee, and the worst thing I can do is just stand in one spot. So as I'm doing this with you today, I'm just like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable. And I can feel myself getting crabbier and crabbier because I'm uncomfortable. And then I remembered this desk can be lowered and I can sit. I can't even tell you how silly I feel. I'm just like, oh, that's right. So I dropped it down and I'm now sitting, and it even has a little crossbar under it where I can prop up my leg or my foot, so my leg is so comfortable. I am so much more comfortable than I have been for the last, I don't know how long we've been filming now, but a while. So yeah, be aware of your surroundings, everybody. Oh, I certainly was not. All right, so that's just gonna be the front cover. We're gonna do way more stuff to it. And then this is going to be the back cover. And because we've layered so many layers on this bag, we really just don't have to worry about it being flimsy. It is going to be quite sturdy. Okay. So let's put these things back together like this. Okay. Oh no, I forgot one more, for goodness sakes. All right, so we have this piece right here, which I'm thinking it would be really cute to take this leftover paper that we had for that grid and put that right there as the pocket. That could be really, really cute. So I'm just gonna take this and cut this down. There we go, just gluing that on 3 sides. That'll be really cute. Okay, still need to do something with this side. Then we've got a page and another page. This one has a little pocket on it. Another page. There we go. Got our little flaps covered with our little napkin. I'm going to do something here. Here, oh, we've got too much green. We've got green, 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 green. Let's move this one. That's why it's always a good idea to move things around, see what you've got. I'm going to take this one and move it here. There we go. Maybe we don't need that extra red one. Maybe we're good. Okay. All right. So we've got all of these layers in place. Now, I wanted to show you another tip before we move on using my doily. Got this great little doily. And then we've got some pages back here, like some cards that have blank sides to them, like this one right here. So let's take that out. Let's find my, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. All right, so I'm going to take my doily. We're going to do a little bit of inking because we're going to color the doily and ink at the same time. So I've just got my little inking tool, and I'm going to use a little bit of khaki ink. These are from Paper Wishes. But, you know, as I said before, use what you have. We've got a lot of red in this book. And we're just going to kind of daub over this doily. You don't want to really do too much of this method because it can tear. So just gently around the edges. Just like this. And we're just going to transfer color through the doily. And at the same time, we're coloring the doily because it's awfully stark and white. I remember too, my grandmother had colored doilies at Christmas. She had green ones and red ones, and I could not find any of those. So we're just going to go with the white. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then we're just going to color the rest of that. And we're going to put some more layers on it. Now let's do the other side. Okay, we can still use, let's just kind of go around like this, I guess. And I'm just going to keep doing this. And I'm going to do this to a couple of other pages that are very stark and white, and I'll show you what I come up with. So I've got this great green doily now, so what are we going to do with that? And I think it would look really cute just on one side of this little envelope, or maybe we could put it in the corner here on this ledger. I think that would look really cute. So what I'm going to do is cut it in half, like this. That way I can cut it into quarters on one, just like one part will be quarters. And then I'm going to leave the other one a full half in case I want to do something else with it. And I can put that right there. I think that'll be just really cute. And then how to get this on here, just a small amount of glue, really on the outside edges, and then along these lines right here, those straight lines. You just want to catch anything that's kind of jaggedy at this point. And then not all of the center pieces need to have glue on them. Just touch a few things. Oops, I just pulled something off, Lene. Here we go. And we're just going to put this in the corner. We're going to do, maybe we'll do this on the same side. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll mix it up a little bit. Now, I would recommend now putting something plastic over that. I'm going to reach over here and grab a sheet protector. And just put this over that while it's drying, because we're moving pages and letting that you don't want to get it stuck on anything else. All right, so some other things we can do, and I'm going to be layering things and doing those things now. So let's just start, I think, at the beginning. And this is just going to be a series of layers. First thing I know I want to use is this little clock piece. Or as I said, just use whatever kind of little die cut pieces that you have. So this is just really fun. Oh man, now I gotta like read Roman numerals. So where's the V and then the two straight lines? Oh no, it's the X, right? 10, 12. Oh. And we're just gonna go around. Okay. And then when you're putting hands on a clock, I like to consider sometime it's like special to me. And so we're going to do this one. And that is the time that I was married. So that's special. Okay. And let's see, what else can we do now? Let's do something over on this corner. Oh, I forgot to get all of my little die cut embellishments that I have cut out. All of these little pieces. I have them in a box, just like an Amazon box right here. Okay, so I want to put something over the center of that. That would be really cute. Okay, like that. then I know I want to do on some of these other pages that are kind of white, I want to do some torn paper. So I have some leftover papers here. Like this. And then I've got one of the book pages. And I can go sort of under that. And then I've got a little bit of green. And I'll have that just to get tucked under this. So suddenly some torn papers are kind of looking like an embellishment here. So we're just going to start with the bottom one and glue that down. And then go to the next. And finally this one. And then I can layer things on top of that, some of these little die cut pieces. And that will be like my page decoration, which will be really cute. And then I just want to trim this even with the page. And then there's some extra little pieces here I did not glue well enough. Okay, there we go. So you can absolutely do things like that. We're just sort of creating little embellishments on page corners as we go. I think this one is probably dry enough for now. Right, and then we've got things like this tag. And I can take this tag and I could cover that with some of the napkin, okay, just to use up that extra color. And then I can use this extra piece here that I still had left from my ledger. And I can put that right there and make a pocket and put this inside the pocket. I think we'll definitely do that. And then what else have I got? Oh, I've got another envelope here. Okay, I can definitely glue something on the flap of the envelope, and then I can just glue this right there, and then we'll just have a little spot that we can open and tuck more things in. So I'm just going to kind of keep doing those things, and then I'm going to come back and show you what I've done. Oh my gosh, I was having so much fun I had to stop and catch you guys up and show you what I've been doing. So this is the very back of the book. Here's that little tuck spot we made, and I found a couple of just 3x5 cards that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I want to show you just how to make a really simple tag using something like this. So I'm just gonna put some glue on the top edge, just a little scrap of paper that it's nice if it has a straight edge, but we can always just trim around it if it doesn't. And then just gonna turn it over, trim off the excess, and now to get those little angled shoulders that a tag has, we're going to just sort of curve it but not crease it and clip those off. And now you have a very nice little tag shape. And then you could also glue a little bit of rickrack or something across that just to vintage it up a little bit. Got a little high on that, so I'm just going to squish that glue down. And then I can just trim those off like that. And then remember all of those little strips of paper that we kept from before, from trimming down our little white background pages. Just put a little line of glue here. Oops, come on. And we're gonna do that just to give it a little extra color along the bottom edge. All right, and then you can write a little message on there, whatever you'd like. Put that right there. And then I remember showing you at the very beginning, I had a recipe page, okay? So I folded it in half, just like this. I glued this half towards the left-hand side of the book, and then just added some more of those layering pieces of torn paper. I took one of the little die cuts that I had and I glued it only on this side. So this side is open and it's just barely overlapping, and that'll just work as a closure. All right. So I had that little miniature paper bag, and we've got our little library card in there. And I inked the edges of the paper bag, and I forgot to ink the edges of the library card. Just using this one shade of green sort of throughout the whole thing. And just tuck that in there. And then I glued the paper bag to the page, and then I just took a strip of red paper that was torn, just a scrap, glued that across, okay? So it looks like it's keeping it on the page, but this is glued. Another little die cut piece, another one of those little silver cutouts I was showing you that says Dream, right there. Just leaving the grid blank for now. There's the little stenciled piece that we were talking about before. This piece has the little pocket edge on it. Whoops, something got glued down that wasn't supposed to be. There we go. And here I just took scraps. I took scraps of paper like this and then just tore them into little long strips. Just cut one end at an angle, and then I'm just gluing one down and then started with another one and just worked my way up. There's the extra piece of that little doily. I still have one left. So there's a little pocket there. Here's another envelope that we can tuck things in. You could put a closure on that one if not, or it'll just lay flat. Okay, this one I took one of the little frames from the ephemera that I had, or the die cuts that I had, glued that to the page, glued the little wish there. Okay, so on this one, just glued that half of the doily that I saved, glued that just to that page. Little bit of rickrack here. Then I had another quarter of the doily left. So for this one, you guys, I just glued it just along the straight edges, leaving this part open. Took another one of those little, you know, 3 by, I don't even know if these are 3 by 5, are they? These are 3 by, yeah, they're 3 by 5. Oops, sorry, I smacked you guys. You okay? Inked the edges of those, just took a little tag, put it on there, and then you just have to, whoops, carefully so you don't want to catch anything. Come on, Lene. I had it in there before. There we go. That'll just stick right there. Okay, so we've got our little envelope pocket here. I just took a little bit of a border there. That was that original doily that we had done, leaving this just glittery because it's just this retro feel, sort of mid-century feel of this book. I love this because it sort of feels like the atomic age, you know, for that. And then we've got our cute little book page. On this one, you guys, I went ahead and I took the book page and I just put it on 3 sides. I'm leaving this part open, so there could be a tag that goes in here. And then I took some more of those little strips of paper that we saved and glued them here. Notice they don't go all the way down, and I cut them at an angle at the bottom. Okay, still going. All right, on this one, took a little bit more of that border I had left over, and I just rounded the edges where I cut it, and I put it right there. Here is the other side of that great little card, and put one of those little label shapes from my die cuts. Here is a little sticker. That's just gonna go right there. Same thing on this page as the other. Okay, here is the tag that I covered with the napkin. Put our little mid-century Santa on here. Put another one of the little die cuts there. Went ahead and, because I covered it with the napkin, had to re-punch the tag with a 1/4 inch hole punch. Do that after it's dry. Okay, it'll punch much easier. I just threaded it with a little bit of green rickrack. Okay, here's another quarter doily, and I just glued this one all down. We did that before together. This one, I took some of that little paper, that brown packing paper, and I trimmed 2 sides straight, okay, with my paper trimmer, and then tore this edge, glued this down, and then just did that little trick of like the scraps that we have, just gluing those on. So notice one is longer than the other, okay, you want to vary those, and then just glued one of those little metallic cutouts there. Here is a frame that I had, and I backed it with some of that paper. And then this is a circle punch from this paper that I had left over and my 2-inch circle punch. And then I just glued one of those little embellishments there. This one is a little pocket, but this one I feel like we need to add something to this one. So here's another one of those little scraps of paper. That's what I love about doing junk journals, is you are just wasting nothing. And you could just spend either several hours doing this or several days. It's great. Okay, and then here's another one of that my last little piece of doily. And we're just getting some glue on there, and then we're gonna just overlap those two. And remember, they have each one of them have a straight edge there. And then I've got another one of those little metallic cutouts. And I'm just going to put that right there. All right, strips of paper, a little tag. All right, so here is the envelope that we were talking about at the end of the last video. I covered my flap with the napkin and then took another one of these little strips, glued that around the top. This piece is only glued on this side so that you can just tuck this in here and then put one of those little metallic cutouts there. There is my clock, and here's another one of those little tags right there. Okay, so now you guys, we're ready to work on the cover, and then we're going to do the binding. And who knows, by the time you're all done, you look at what you have left and you're like, oh, that would look cute. All right, so I went ahead and I took my vintage Christmas card and I just cut the back off of it. I'm not going to throw this away. I'm going to use it on something else. I'm going to put that right there. And then I saved some of these little strips of paper. And I thought, how cute to put that kind of right there to give that a little color. And then, so let's go ahead and glue that down. Sorry if you guys can hear my neighbor's leaf blower in the background. It's a sunny day in Oregon, and so that means you do yard work. Or if you're like me, you run inside and you craft while your husband does the yard work. Okay, that's gonna go here. I kind of like it when my glue bottle gets a little clunk of glue on the bottom, top of it, because then it sort of flattens out the glue as I go. So I haven't bothered taking it off today. It's serving me well. All right, there we go. And then let's put this aside. There we go. Now I've got this other piece of rickrack that I think would look really cute right there. Just continuing with those little retro vibes. I'm gonna put it right down the center. Tell me, did you guys wear a lot of rickrack when you were kids? Seems like my mom made like some of my clothes. My auntie made a lot of my clothes. She was an amazing seamstress. So she would only use rickrack like on the inside of clothing, like around hems and things like that. But no, it's very nostalgic for me. Okay, so our cover is looking pretty good. I have these pieces right here. And I thought, how cute. These little hanging tags, they're so cute. I'm gonna take these little pieces, these little die cut pieces. I'm just gonna kind of overlap them to make an embellishment. And I'm gonna do one black and one green. Like that. And then I want to put these kind of like how these ornaments are hanging. I think that's really, really cute. Just to kind of attach these here. But I want to hang them at different lengths. And then, of course, I'm not going to let them like jingle jangle around, I don't think. So I'm tying them together, but they're at different lengths. That's kind of a tall knot. Let's try that again. I want to have the knot a little closer. Take that off. Okay, and we're going to put these here. And then I've got this fun polka dot ribbon. When you're dealing with one-sided ribbon, let's slow down. Let's do that again. Okay, there's the little bunny loop. Just like you tie your shoes, you're going around. I like to keep my thumb right here. We're going through the little rabbit hole, tie it tight. Then when you've got single-sided ribbon, this is the point where you turn that so that the pattern is showing, and then pull it tight. Don't worry, we're not done. Now we're going to just manipulate that. And we're gonna like keep turning it so it stays in the right direction. Usually takes me about 3 times of pulling and tying and pulling and tying to just kind of get that shape that I want. Like that. And then that's going to go right there. Okay, and I think for sure I'm going to have to like hot glue that one down. And let me take care of that, and then we're going to do the binding, and then we're just done. All right, what do we think of these? Do we like them jingling around? Are they cute or are they annoying? It's easy enough to glue down. We'll see how that works out. We'll see how the winner of this giveaway, see what they want to do with them. That's right, stick around to the end, because remember, I give away my projects every week. So now we just have to do the binding, you guys. So before we do that, this is a really good time to go through your book and make sure all of the pages, and you'll notice here, I've got some holes in my book, and that's because I've already done the binding and my camera battery died. I was like, you're kidding me. So we're just gonna pretend those aren't there. But it's a really good time to make sure everything's folded really well and lined up, stacked up correctly. Like this. And like this. And actually, this is a good time to make a change since I get to do it again. Somehow I ended up with these two light pages together, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to move this, I think, back here, just to switch it up a little bit. All right, now that I just undid what I did here. All right, so we want to make sure, and I don't think there's any way I can get these aligned exactly like I did the first time, but we'll try. Normally, you would not have to deal with this problem. Normally, you would not be filming this. There we go. I think we're okay. All right, not too bad. So now, I'm going to take my little clampies from the $1.25 store. These are such a good deal to have because they really, really help. And you're just going to make sure everything is pushed into that fold as much as you can, and then kind of let the slack out there. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same. And I'm actually going to move these up a little closer to where we are working. There we go. All right, so I'm going to be using an awl. It's an AWL, and it's very, very pokey. It's used in bookbinding. They're very inexpensive, and I'll link this down below the video in the Amazon store. They're just a couple bucks. Or you could use something like this, which is a pokey tool. Whatever you use, it has to be very, very pokey. And a knife is not a good idea because it's going to make a slit instead of a hole. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, you want to make sure that you're in far enough to get those things like those little pages and that little sparkly silver card, because they aren't as wide as the rest of the book. So I was doing 1.5 inches from each side, and then I just poked this. Make sure your fingers are out of the way, and Oh, hey, about that, I went through the same hole. And then the awl is sort of tapered at the bottom, and then it gets thicker, bigger at the end. We want to go all the way to make a big hole. And then before we would do your normal fresh hole, before you do another one, we're just going to take some, this is twine. This is just solid green, like baker's twine, weight twine. And I am going to go ahead and push this through the hole, I think using my pokey tool, because this is what we're going to be using to bind this. And I find that if you do this now as opposed to going ahead and working on the other hole, you won't, it's just easier. Everything is already lined up, it's ready to go. You haven't moved the book any, and it's just a lot easier. Come on. There we go. And you can do this with ribbon. If you're doing this with ribbon, cut your ribbon at a point at the end, and it'll be a little easier to get through. Oh, geez. See, I knew these things were going to be a problem. The dangles in my way. Okay, all the way up to the top. And then we're going to take the little pokey tool, and we're just going to be putting that through there too. And if I was using ribbon, I would use 1/4 inch wide to 3/8 inch wide ribbon, and I would push it through the exact same way. And I've done this on other books and junk journals using ribbon, and I'll link those maybe at the end of this video so you guys can see. Okay, there we go. So you see that is what's keeping everything in place. Okay, so now I'm just going to take these off, and I'm just going to use one to clamp it together just so that it's tidy here. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to tie this once like this, because I have something else planned. And now I'm going to take some cute little red rickrack. I have 2 feet of it, and I'm just making a loopy bow. So that's where you just hold on, and then you just make some loops like this. Let's just give it an extra loop. And I'm laying the center of that right across my twine, and then I'm just going to tie a knot over this. So it's going to make a cute little bow like this. And then you can also tie another bow here with your twine. And then, because these ends just look a mess, we can just tie these into little knots. And make little tassels out of the crazy ends. And I'll just splay those out. Okay. That is it. What do we think? Is it retro? So let me give you an example of my inspiration. Oh, first of all, this card, I cut the back off of it, and I just put extra scraps on here, and then the inside can go right here. And now that I'm thinking about it, the video I did not show you guys, the video that got cut off that my battery died, I think that's when I was gluing this trim on. Okay, so it's this adorable little pom-pom trim, and I used my hot glue gun. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. And I glued it here just to the outside edge of the paper bag, and then also on the back, just for like extra retroness. Okay, now, so the inside, put that little tag in there. You can also put photos in there, and these are little photos of my family. These are all my aunts and uncles. This is my grandmother and my aunt. It's my uncle and my cousin. And then how cute to just put these in the little pockets. Just load this up with all kinds of little notes, family recipes, vintage photos. If you can't part with your vintage photos, make copies of them. It can go in here. I don't remember if I showed you this. I just took another scrap that I had and I added that on. That was something I don't think I had shown you. There we go. Great little pocket right there. Remember how we went in really kind of narrow here to make sure we got these short little pieces. This little pocket. Oh, and I forgot to show you guys, this one, I only glued it on 3 sides, so that is a great place for a pocket with a little photo. And then our recipe. And then our final little tuck spot right there is perfect for those small vintage photos. You guys, this was a fun one to make, except for when my camera battery died. But thanks for hanging in with me. I know this was a long one, but here's the reward. I love to give away my projects to my subscriber friend, okay, one of you. And how that works is you like, comment, and be a subscriber, and then you watch next week's video, and then you'll learn in a pop-up who the winner is, and they're given instructions on how to claim their prize. You may have noticed in today's video a pop-up saying somebody won from last week. Hopefully they'll claim your prize, their prize. Let's see what else I have to tell you. Don't forget to follow me on my other social media. That is really great. It's very nice of you if you would like to hop on over to Instagram and Facebook and follow me there. I'm really trying to get my numbers up there, you guys. They are, you know, proving tough to get people to view those videos, and I like to do new little things on those accounts, so definitely check those out for new videos. And also, if you want to help me with shipping, we could do a buy me a cup of coffee, which is down below the video, or also super thanks, because this is going to be a heavy one. This one is going to be expensive to mail to the winner, and we like to keep the winner's prize absolutely free. So if you want to make a donation to Lenny Creates, 100% of those donations go to pay for our shipping costs. Thanks so much. I had a great time. I hope you guys did too. Thanks for hanging in with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.